welcome back. This is Billy with Coach Dooley's List. And once again, if you're enjoying these videos, please like and subscribe to the YouTube page and follow along on all of our social media platforms. Today, I am here at River Ridge High School with head baseball coach Jeff Runion. And Coach, I appreciate you taking the time.
Mr. Billy, thanks for having me.
Like I've started the other ones, this one is all. I'm glad to be here. I've heard a lot about you. David Dyer has been after me about getting up here to get all his people from when he was finishing up his career. So I do appreciate, and the fact that you have a game today.
Yeah.
So I know you've got other things to do. So we'll hop right to it. So I always ask, tell everybody about your coaching journey and how you ended up here at River Ridge.
Well, yeah, I had an opportunity to play baseball after high school, and once that opportunity, that career ended, I just kind of drifted away from the game and pursued some opportunities in accounting and just one of those things that just wasn't really satisfying me. And my wife and I, we would church we were attending and just people in the community had kind of found out a little bit about, I played baseball. And so I just kind of had stumbled into doing a little instruction, if you will, and enjoyed it. The firm I worked for, one of the partners, had some sons that played, and I got wrangled into coaching, and it's before my wife and I had children. So we kind of joined with them, and we traveled with them and played baseball or, coached them, and it was just a lot of fun. And my wife, it was just craziest thing, and I just never had any aspirations of really being a coach per se, but I always, missed the game a little bit, and it just some things had lined up. My wife got a promotion to Woodstock, Georgia, and we were living in Henry County, Georgia, and River Ridge High School opened up, and the new principal of the school, we had become friends, and he had always asked me, he thought about teaching and coaching, and just things lined up, and an opportunity presented itself here as a parapro. And so my undergrad was not, it was in accounting. And so then I had to go back and do some things to qualify myself to teach, and just came on board as an assistant, and it just had gone from there. And just always enjoyed, I guess, telling some of the kids the things that I didn't get at that age, and maybe sharing some of my failures that they can learn from. And here I am, many years later, coaching baseball here at River Ridge. And so I've been here.
So you've been here the whole time?
The whole time. Well, I came in the fall. I think that we moved into this school because we were across the street, and came in and been here for a long time. So I've seen a lot of things go on here in the program from the grassroots, I guess you could say.
No, did you ever coach softball?
I did not.
So right at the beginning, I was in North County. We played, I think,
Coach Bradley, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
They, my first year there, and they put on pretty good. And everybody said, "Oh, it's a new school." I said, "Guys, it's just a new school out here." I said, "That's not the same as just being a new school." So, no, that's cool. So being here, working under another head coach, and then how long have you been the head coach now?
This is my 5th year.
So 5th year. Obviously, things have probably changed about how you look at stuff. But I love what you said. Just letting the kids know what your failures were and that kind of stuff, because sometimes kids have a hard time failing occasionally. But what is it now that you want your program to be known for?
I guess when you say my program, I don't really look at it that way, because I go back to Coach Bradley and Coach Marinelli and Coach Lewis, and we've been pretty an integral part of just that's how everything's developed. And I guess, as far as wins and losses are great, but, I guess I just like for the boys to walk away and be, dependable people, people people can rely on. Because, I guess the successes for me are to see the guys go on and have a good life, because like I said, I experienced baseball, and I experienced the, pursuing my dreams, and then those things come to an end, and then other things start. And we hear those stories, life after, but and for high school, most high school, athletes, it's a lot sooner than they realize. And so I guess that's probably more so as far as the kids that I get to get to coach and stuff, that they are people that like I said, I like for teachers to depend on those kids and rely on those kids. I like for administration to depend on those kids. I like for the community to depend on those kids. That's probably the biggest part as far as a program, the kids play for a lot of people. There's a lot of baseball out there, and we're trying to put that back together after all their respective tribal teams and things like that. So, but I guess that's probably more important to me than anything, rather than saying my program is I don't really even see it that way. I mean, I know I'm responsible for it, but I don't really see it that way as my program. I just see just the boys I get to, because we do have some really good kids. We have some fantastic kids, and that's a um, I guess a shout out to like our community. Really, really, we do have some really good kids that come through the program.
Well, you're in a great place. You've been here. You've been in a great place. But I love what you said about how you say that for the community to depend on them. And I think anything with kids nowadays, you have to show them the way. They can see the highlights of things, or they can see the lowlights of things, but you continually show them like, hey, look, somebody's going to depend on you, because that's what's going to happen in life. But also just being a productive member of society and those kind of things. And if you do all that stuff, all the wins and losses, that takes care of themselves. So no, that's really cool. So, in all your years here, most of your coaching has been done here at River Ridge, aside from some instruction stuff on the side. What's one of your favorite coaching stories over the years? Could be on the field, off the field, on the bus.
Oh, wow. I think about, again, I guess my favorite is to watch the boys, just those playoff runs. They have a fantastic time, and I tell them that all the time. You can't buy that. That's there. You can't put a price tag on it, and it's tough for coaches because we're all stressed out over lineups and food and getting on the bus and arriving and all those things that go on outside of the or in the peripheral of actually coaching the game. But I guess I guess this last year is probably the one that's on my mind the most, is just the good time that they had. They played in some tough environments against some really good teams, and just when we finished up in the Final Four this year, Noonan beat us, and man, what an environment that is, and a great team, great coach, all that stuff, and seeing them, they were a little disappointed, but I think some reality hit that, man, this was a rare opportunity that anybody gets to play in this environment against these types of players and all this, and then they reflect and go, well, I'm that type of player too. So I guess seeing them, enjoy and compete and win and celebrate together, and just you see some kids who are some reserve kids who are quite emotional afterwards, just jumping around cheering. I'm like, I didn't even know he talked. And they're jumping around and throwing water on each other and just all that fun stuff. I guess that's probably one of my, I guess just right on my mind. I can't, I'm sure there's plenty. I know there's plenty, especially with some of the coaches I've got to coach with. We have, there's a camaraderie amongst coaches too. It's hard to find it somewhere else. It's as much time as you spend together, and the things you share with each other, and making fun of each other, and encouraging each other at the same time. But I know there's probably several, but that's one that jumps into my mind, is just watching the kids this past year really celebrate a fantastic run. I mean, it was fun for them. And
playoff runs are always amazing, and I love too what you said about the coaches you're with.
Yeah.
With baseball, cutting up, laughing, picking at each other. There's so much time. You're sitting on a bucket next to each other and all that kind of stuff. You're on a bus, let the kids in the back, coach is usually in the front. There's just a lot of time, and baseball coaches always seem like they get so close, which I love. So that's cool. So if one of those coaches ever did come to you, and say, Coach Runion, I think I want to be a head coach one day, what piece of advice would you give them?
I had this conversation not too long ago with someone who became a head coach. Find you a mentor. Doesn't have to be affiliated with the respective sport.
Right.
That somebody who can listen, somebody who will listen, somebody who'll give you some feedback objectively. Because sometimes it's poor pitiful me, and I fall into that category. But yeah, a mentor, somebody that you can just bounce something off of, and whether it's not necessarily X's and O's, as far as baseball is concerned, most things kind of happen and develop on the field as you go. But getting the kids, to really, buy in, if you will, to what you're trying to get them to do every day, on a consistent basis, and that gets quite taxing, and have somebody to, to kind of say, well, are you doing this? Are you doing that? Because you're trying to reach people, um, you know, with not necessarily you get old and you can't physically do it anymore. So you got to communicate it as best you can, verbally. So I would mentor would be the one. Find somebody fast, and somebody who's going to be honest with you and that you can trust, obviously, because you may have to share some things with them that they don't want to hear, but they can and will listen. Yeah, right. Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that mentor would be certainly, yeah, definitely. That would be mine. Is immediately find you somebody quick.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of people say that. And I think too, if you're going to pick somebody who's going to be honest with you, you definitely need to make sure that you're willing to listen to them, because they're doing it right and they're being honest. They're going to tell you things you don't want to hear, and that's hard, especially as a young coach. Some time ago, hey, I needed a mentor, but I really just want a psychiatrist just to listen to.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, so, you got it.
So a couple fun questions. This is not, you don't have to give any context, just quick little rapid fire. Okay, somebody, I think there's a team close by coming down today. Somebody, coach calls you and says, hey, I'm coming to town. I'm not going to ride the bus. I'm going to go out to eat afterwards. Don't send me any change. Where do you go?
Well, I don't eat out a whole lot, but
change are okay if that's what you.
Trying to think.
Don't eat out.
I rarely. I'll grab fast food, but most of mine I eat a lot of, like, my wife will cook. I eat leftovers a lot, so can't invite them to the house. They wouldn't want to do that, I don't guess. Oh gosh.
Cooking at night?
Yeah, I know. Let me think.
What's your favorite fast food?
Oh, love Taco Bell, and it's open.
It's hard to go wrong.
It's so good, but it's open, and it's usually by the time we get out of here, it's about the only thing open. But man, I wish, man, I would.
Taco Bell's good.
Yeah, that's a bad answer, but okay.
No, what's do you have one now or back in the day when you were playing? Did you ever have a pregame hype song?
No, that's back in the day. The Guns N' Roses stuff was always and then that's about as intense as it got for me, because I remember some of the other guys would listen to stuff, and it was like, man, I can't even listen to this. It's too hardcore for me. But I remember I like the Guns N' Roses. I guess I've never been one of those real high, intensity guys, if you will, as far as getting hyped up, especially for baseball. You got 27 ounce then, 21 now. That's like, you got to sustain. And
oh yeah. Well, and listen, I've heard a lot of people, they don't even say, like, one of them told me they started off some Outcast and finished with some Sade. Just to
Barry
calm
Manilow,
it down beforehand. Oh yeah, there you go, a little Barry Manilow.
Kind of calm you down.
Who is the best coach you've ever coached against, or maybe somebody when they're in the other dugout, you're always going to have to do something the day before to prep for them?
Well, again, I've seen a lot of that today. We're playing; they're going to be well prepared. Playing against Chris Turco, he always has his guys ready to go and to do the things that's needed to win ball games. Sometimes it's not as Twitter worthy, but there's sometimes you walk away. We played them a couple of years ago, and we had one of our, just a phenomenal pitcher, and you walked away and you saw how many hits had been given up, and I think there were maybe one got to the fence, and it had bled us to death, and but it just was willing to do those things. So they'll be ready. They're always ready. But I do see some good coaches around where we're at, and just about every team we play. I really admire how they're able to get what they get out of their players, whether they're a 5-star or a high profile guy or not so high profile players. They're able to get some things out of guys, and that for me is this admiration, because every day I'm trying to pull more and more out of you here, and sometimes that's probably the most difficult thing to do.
And I start thinking about that question in this area, and then I have to remind myself where I am.
Yeah,
with all the baseball around.
Yeah, I could name off several, but I guess he's on my mind because it's we see them today, and plus the success they've had over there for years, and he's been a big part of that. So no question.
for just stick to home game, aside from fixing the field or line and everything, what's your pregame ritual? What do you do to just kind of get mentally ready for the game?
Well, it's along those lines. I've got my reel mowers up there at the field, and make a few runs out there to cut the grass, and whether it needs it or not, it gets a stripe on it, and maybe an eighth of an inch off, and I just enjoy doing that. It's good exercise. It kind of you go through and you're doing a lot of thinking, and sometimes it's not good thoughts, and I've teased before. I said, man, I committed like 3 homicides in that cutting of the grass, but I got myself back. You know what I'm saying? You get all worked up, and it's like, oh, I cut the line wrong. I have to do it again. But that is something that just kind of gets a lot of, you're really just and there's instant, results. You've cut the grass. It looks nice, and that sounds simple, but and maybe
baseball people don't understand
yeah,
how satisfying that is.
It really is, and it just kind of okay. Now the next part, we don't know what's going to happen, but if I cut this grass, I know what's going to happen. I know what it's going to look like. Even if you take the field and your pitcher's great and your hitters are executing, that doesn't mean that the W is the result. But yeah, I guess cutting grass. You're on a 2 to 3 day cycle with it too anyway, so you're out there doing it just about every other day. And but yeah, that would be, I think mine. I don't have any food specifically that I usually eat after the games, and then it's kind of chaos of all the things getting put in place so that the game can and everybody can kind of do their jobs. So
being out here, there's going to be a hard one too. Who's the best player you've ever coached
against? Ooh, wow. That is a tough one, because I can go back and just every year I can name a name, and they were a headache. That, as far as competing against them.
A lot of them probably on TV now.
Oh man, the best player. Ooh. I want to say, man, Pope had a shortstop one year, and he went and played at Georgia. His name was Buddy, and man, he just made every play. I remember how fast he was and just effective he was on the base path. But when he played shortstop, I remember we had, he was making plays in the 6 hole, and then we had a really good hitter up, and he gets a foul ball and it just flared behind, no one's going to get that. That joker caught that thing, so I think sliding into the fence, and was like, oh. And we were in a situation where we could maybe get a run in at that point, because you're not going to get a lot of runs. He jumps out at me right now, but because his name, and then plus I just remember him making, and that just wasn't one time; it was through the series, and that was the Final Four series too. But gosh, we played against some really good players. The boy from Runion last year, the shortstop, he just patient at the plate and did his job. And the game kind of opened up a little bit after, guys come up in those situations, they get on the stage, and that's when they do it. They're not waiting, for the game's out of hand, or, it mattered. He did it,
it's different to compete at 3-3 than 10-1.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So, but yeah, there's been so many that do so many good things. And it's at the high school level, and sometimes it gets, some guys are just, just dominant that day, but the ones who just, you can see the steadiness, they're up there and they stay there.
So last question.
Sure.
You have a website that's just meant to help coaches out, just a one-stop shop. If you need uniforms, dirt, turf, whatever. The only way I put anybody on there is if coaches refer them to me. I figure that's the best way to vet them.
Yeah.
Schools and coaches. And that, again, doesn't mean they're perfect,
sure,
but just that, that you trust them. So who's somebody that you get to work with that you would just love to shout out for others?
He retired this year, so I can't really give him a shout out.
Shout him out.
Aaron Douglas, man, he helped me out so much with some coming into it as the head coach. You're trying different vendors, different brands, and then trying just something new for the team. And he would always help walk me through that. And hey, I can get you this or can't get you that. And also on top of Mickey McMurtry. Man, I needed that joker. That joker.
All coaches.
Yeah,
when
that just popped right in my head. Yeah, he's always, because you need the rain's coming. Paint. Oh, I forgot to get paint. I'll get it for you. I got you, Coach. Yeah, him too.
But he gets it too.
He does. Yeah. He does. He's an Auburn guy too. Me and him had some. There you go.
That's right. That's right. There is a Georgia flag over here, but that's okay.
I
didn't even rub the whole SEC's up in here.
Well, it's easy decor for someone as simple-minded as me. I can
look. That's just if you can't look at a flag in here and get excited about something, then you're just you're probably not an athlete.
Yeah.
So, Coach, listen, I know you got a lot going on, and I appreciate it. Good luck today.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. Yes, sir. Thank you.